Hi, this video will show how Far From the Tree illustrates ideas about intergenerational trauma and its healing. Far From the Tree is a 2021 Disney short film released as a companion to Encanto, which is also about intergenerational trauma. It was written and directed by Natalie Norgat. Watching and discussing it can be a good illustration of intergenerational post-trauma and perhaps the paths for mitigating it. I strongly suspect that the creators of the movie were thinking about this idea directly as they were making the movie. The title echoes the saying, "The apple does not fall far from the tree," which suggests that parents and children are usually similar. The movie is a way of asking if that saying has to be true, at least in the realm of trauma and behaviors that are triggered by this trauma. If you can, I really recommend watching the short movie before moving on with my video. It's just 7 minutes. I'll wait. This wordless film is about 3 generations of a raccoon family. As the film opens, we see a big, somewhat grizzled raccoon and a small, very cute raccoon cub. The parent has a scar around their eye. The parent wants to go down to the beach to forage for oysters, but it is clear that this is anxiety-inducing. The parent raccoon aggressively tries to keep the cub in check, showing avoidance and anxiety, but not telling what they are anxious about. The parent's reactions are angry, almost violent, recreating the trauma instead of telling about it. You could say, "David, it's a raccoon that doesn't talk. What do you expect from it?" But the point is that this lack of direct speech is associated with trauma even for people who can talk. Despite the anxiety and anger, the parent fails at protecting the cub from trauma, partly perhaps because the real danger was not communicated properly. The cub is not careful and runs into a coyote. The coyote attacks and scratches the cub's nose. The parent saves the cub and they climb up their tree to safety. Instead of comforting the hurt cub, the parent continues yelling and scolding, only now telling through gestures that their scar, this physical symbol of trauma, was caused by the same coyote. The first part of the movie ends with the cub and the parent sitting far away from each other on a branch. The joint trauma alienates them from each other rather than bringing them together. The behavior that was meant to avoid traumatic events only helps the trauma repeats. The trauma of the parent's anger and anxiety are just as severe as the trauma of the coyote attack itself. The second part of the movie starts with the former cub as a grown raccoon. We recognize them by the scarring on the nose. Their trauma is not fully healed. Now there's a new cub. At first, the parent behaves just like their own parent. It looks like the trauma will be repeated. But instead, as they are yelling and scolding, the parent looks at the cub and sees they are scared. The parent looks to their left and sees their shadows on the cave wall. Referring to expressions like the shadow of the past, this shadow represents a memory of their own upbringing and the traumas that it involved. They see their scary parent in their own shadow. So in a very moving surprise, the parent chooses not to recreate the trauma. Instead, they climb up the tree. The big raccoon points out the coyote, points out the scars, telling the story as fully and as explicitly as a non-speaking raccoon could. This is a moment of intergenerational understanding and empathy. Instead of inheriting the trauma, the cub receives tools for avoiding it. Naturally, intergenerational trauma in real life won't be cured so easily. This is a short, wordless movie about cute animals. Nonetheless, it is a good illustration of ideas about intergenerational trauma and how we might overcome them, even if just partially. So let me know if you have any questions, what you think I got right, what you think I got wrong. Thank you for listening.